Hello everybody. Today you will be taking notes on solving inequalities using addition and subtraction. This is the notes page that you should have. If you don't have it, you have two options. You could print it out from the attachment, or you can just write everything on a piece of paper if you would like. But you should go through the video carefully, rewind if you need to, make sure you watch the entire video. Okay, so we're going to solve an inequality, and all of the inequalities that we're working with today have just addition and subtraction. And the good thing about solving inequalities using addition and subtraction, it's the same exact thing as solving an equation, except for you have an inequality symbol rather than an equation. So for example number 1, you have -7 is less than or equal to x plus 7. Okay, you want to get your variable all by itself on one side of the equation. So if you're looking at this inequality, I should say, not equation, I want to get rid of this 7, and that is an add 7. So the inverse of an add 7 would be to subtract 7. And whatever you do on one side of your inequality, you're going to do to the other side of your inequality, just like we did for equations. Okay, and we have a +7 and a -7 on the right side here, which is the additive inverse, gives you 0. You're left with x. Bring down your inequality symbol, and then -7 minus 7, you have same sign, so you should subtract, and you get 14, and that would be a -14. Okay, now if you would like to rewrite that, so your variable's on the left, you can. You could read that backwards. X is greater than or equal to -14. X is greater than or equal to -14. Okay? Either way to write that is totally fine. Some people like to rewrite their inequality or equation in the very beginning with their variable on the left. That's okay too. Okay, so now we have our number line down at the bottom, and you're going to number your number line. The -14 should go in the middle there, and then this would be a -13 and a -12 and a -11, and this way would be -15, -16, and -17. Okay, and that's x is greater than or equal to -14, so it is including the -14, so that would be a closed circle on the -14. It includes -14, and it's all of the numbers that are greater than -14. So we are going to go this way with our number line. And there you have x is greater than or equal to -14. Okay, example number 2. If you think you have this, why don't you pause this and give number 2 a try and then continue to play it to see how you do. Okay, we have x plus 14 is greater than or equal to 12. So we want to get the x all by itself on one side of the inequality. In order to do that, we need to get rid of that plus 14. The inverse of add 14 or a plus 14 would be to subtract 14. Whatever you do on one side of the inequality, you do on the other. +14 and -14, it's the additive inverse, that's 0. Bring down your x. Bring down your symbol. Make sure you bring that down carefully. You don't want to lose that equal to as well. Greater than or equal to. And then we have 12 minus 14. You have different signs. You should subtract. 14 minus 12 is 2, and my bigger number is 14, so that's a -2, and there is your answer. Okay, we're going to put that on our number line. We have -2, -1, 0, 1, -3, -4, -5 this way. It's greater than or equal to -2, so that's including -2, so that would be a closed circle on -2. And then it is greater than, so that's going to go this way. Okay, Everything to the right of -2, all the numbers that are greater than -2. Okay, next problem. We have -36 is greater than x minus 18. Solving just like an equation, you want to get x all by itself. In order to get x by itself, I need to get rid of the -18. The opposite of a -18 would be to add 18. Whatever you do to one side of the inequality, you have to do to the other. Okay, on the right side here, my -18 plus 18 would be 0. That's your additive inverse. I'm left with x. Bring down your symbol. And -36 plus 18, you have different signs, so you should subtract. 36 minus 18 is 18. And my bigger number is 36, so that's a -18. And that would be your answer. Okay, if you want to rewrite it, x is less than -18, that's totally fine as well. You should be able to read this backwards. This one backwards, x is less than -18. Okay, and we're going to graph that. -18, -17, -16, -15, -19, -20, and -21, and that is x is less than, okay, so it does not include the -18, so that would be an open circle on the -18, and it's everything that is less than -18, so it's going to go to the left. Okay, all the numbers that are less than -18, so -19, -20, -21, and so on and so forth. Okay, if you would like to pause the video and do the next one on your own now, if you didn't do that before, you may do that and then just continue playing it to watch it, to check your answers after. Okay, we have 8 is less than or equal to x minus 2. We want to get x all by itself on one side of the inequality. So to get x all by itself, I have to get rid of the -2. So the inverse of that would be to add 2. Whatever I do to one side of the inequality, I have to do to the other. -2 plus 2 cancels out. We're left with x. Bring down your symbol. 8 plus 2, simple addition, 10. Okay, so we have 10 is less than or equal to x. X is greater than or equal to 10. Okay, your 8th grade teachers, I feel like I heard something like they don't like you switching it. So your variable's on the left. So if you hear that next year, I don't mind. Whatever works better for you, that you're going to graph it properly, that's what's important to me. So we have a 10, 11, 12, 13, 9, 8, 7. Okay, and that is x is greater than or equal to 10. So that it is including 10, and it's all the numbers that are greater than 10. So we are going to go with 11, 12, 13, 14, and so on. Okay, just make sure that's colored in circle, closed circle, all to the right. Okay, next problem, we have a fraction. Do not be afraid of the fractions. Okay, you're just going to solve that just like you would any other equation. X plus 1/3 is greater than -3. Okay, 1/3 is a fraction that I feel like you should be able to do in your head. If you wanted to change them to have common denominators, you can. I'm going to show you both ways. Okay, so we want to get x all by itself. In order to get x by itself, we want to get rid of 1/3. This, in my opinion, is mental math. Whatever you do on one side, you do on the other. Okay, positive 1/3, negative 1/3, that cancels out. I'm left with x is greater than 3 minus, -3 minus 1/3. You have same signs, so you're going to add. Your answer is going to be negative, and what is 3 plus 1/3? That would be 3 and 1/3. Okay, if you wanted to write that as, you could also write that as x is greater than -10/3, if you have that as an improper fraction. Okay, I like it as negative 10/3, so when I'm doing my number line, it's a little bit easier, but it doesn't matter to me. Okay, if you wanted to change that to have the common denominators and do it with like that, if you couldn't do that in your head, okay, 3 would be your common denominator. So you would rewrite this as negative 9/3, okay? And then this is where you'll see the 10/3. Subtract 1/3 on both sides, just another option for you, okay? And you're left with x is greater than negative 9/3 minus 1/3. You have same sides, and that would be a negative 10/3. Okay, either way is fine. And this would be also a very good answer, either one. Okay, so I'm going to graph that as negative 10/3. Okay, and on this side we would have negative 9/3, which would be a negative 3, but on your number line, I don't care if you leave it like that. And a negative 8/3, and a negative 10/3. Oops, no, that's not a negative 10/3. Sorry. That's a negative 7/3. And then to the left here, we have negative 11/3, negative 12/3, which would be 4, and negative 13/3. Okay, and x is greater than negative 10/3, so that is an open circle. It's everything that is greater than 10/3. So it's going to be all of the numbers to the right, greater than negative 10/3. Okay, and if you have any questions with any of these, write them down. You could ask after the lesson, send a message, send an email. Make sure you write them down. Okay, question number 6. We have decimals. So we have negative 3 1/10 is greater than or equal to x plus 2 4/10. We want to get x all by itself. In order to get x by itself, we're going to subtract 2 4/10 from both sides. Okay, and positive 2 4/10 and a negative 2 4/10 cancels out. That's 0. Additive inverse. Bring down my x. Bring down my symbol. On the left side, I have the same sign, so I'm going to add. And when you add them, 4 plus 1 is 5. Bring down your decimal. 2 plus 3 is 5. And my answer is negative. Take the sign of the larger number. Okay, that would be your answer. If you want to write it with your variable on the left, x is, read it backwards, less than or equal to negative 5 5/10. Okay, and you're going to graph that. I have a negative, this is going to be tricky for me to graph. We have negative 5 5/10, and a negative 5 4/10, a negative 5 3/10, negative 5 2/10. And this way would be a negative 5 6/10, negative 5 7/10, negative 5 8/10. Okay, and that would be an open circle. I'm sorry, it's greater than or, it's less than or equal to, so it's a closed circle. Apologize. Okay, including negative 5 5/10, and it is less than or equal to, so it's going to be everything to the left. Okay, and there's your number line. Okay, last question. We have a word problem, so let's take a look at that. Oops. Hold on. Okay, a person must be no taller than 56 inches tall to ride the space cars at Great Adventure. Okay, that's the first important information, so I'm going to underline that. Ryan is 4 feet tall. Write and solve an inequality that represents how much Ryan can still grow and still ride the space cars at Great Adventure. Okay, we have one little problem before we even start this. We have inches and we have feet, okay? So when we look at this, we have to change that. We could change the inches to feet if that was a nice number, but it's not. So we're going to change 4 feet to inches, okay? And there's 12 inches in 1 foot, so 12 times 4 gives me 48 inches. Okay, now I have inches and inches. Okay, that's the first step here. So we're going to write, instead of Ryan being 4 feet tall, we can consider that 48 inches, just like the 56 inches. Okay, now we're going to write our inequality. So, okay, so for this, we are going to take the current height. So what is the current height of Ryan? Ryan is right now 48 inches. So we definitely have that in our inequality. We want to know how much more he can grow. So if we were going to be growing more, we would be adding however much he can grow. Do we know how much he could grow? No. So we're going to use the variable h. So we have my current height plus the amount I'm going to grow. And now where we're heading to is the 56 inches, the height limit. So that's 56. Now I just need to put my inequality symbol in there, okay? So can Ryan be taller than 56 inches? He needs to be, you can be no taller than 56 inches. So he's got to be less than 56 inches. Could he be 56 inches? Well, he can't be any taller than 56 inches, but he could be 56 inches. So that would be less than or equal to. So you're taking the current height of Ryan, you're adding how much he could grow to still be under the 56 inches. And that's your inequality that you're going to use. Okay? So let's take that inequality. I'm going to just circle that because that's the first part. That's our inequality. And now we're going to solve it to figure it out. We have 48 plus h is less than or equal to 56. Just like we've been doing, we want to get our variable all by itself. So we want to get rid of the 48. That's a positive 48. So I'm going to subtract 48 on both sides of the inequality. And my 48 minus 48 cancels out, that's 0. I'm left with h is less than or equal to 56 minus 48 is 8. And of course we're going to label that because it is a word problem, inches. Okay, Ryan cannot grow any more. He can only grow 8 inches. And if you wanted to write that out, Ryan can grow up to 8 inches. And still go on the space cars that I'm sure he loves. Okay, and there's your notes. If you have any questions, please write them down. And I will see you next time. Have a great night.